Hey guys, my name is Ryan.
And my name is Miska.
And welcome to Overwatch Central. So most of you will hear the term triple tank and shudder at what the meta used to be like a few months ago. Each team would be mirror matches of Reinhardt, D.Va, Roadhog, Lucio, Soldier and Ana, and it basically would become this huge horrible fist fight on the objective. This was probably one of the stalest metas we've had so far in Overwatch, but since Orisa's launch into competitive, we have seen the style and composition come back somewhat. Not only that, there are some changes coming soon that might make deathballing a huge problem again. So is it time to welcome back triple tanks?
To give an example and almost provide a bit of evidence, we wanted to go over a few games we've had this week. Now, we also wanted to mention that these examples are of course anecdotal, and so far we haven't really caught a glimpse of how the pros would utilize Orisa, but with our experience as well as a new Lucio on the horizon, heavy sustained deathballing may be making a revived comeback. Most times we've experienced on Orisa in competitive, the lineups for both sides have become very sustainable and pretty beefy. Barrier wars became much more problematic, especially if your Reinhardt is running into a Roadhog, D.Va and Orisa. Bursting down barriers has become incredibly important again, which is good for the likes of D.Va, who may find themselves to gain a little bit of a popularity boost from that. The problem then becomes a big barrier battle. Heroes like Winston can't really run headfirst into a composition this dense, so Reinhardt becomes much more of a must pick in situations where dive might be favorable. It's definitely worth noting though that in between these tank heavy composition games that we've faced, we've also played against dive comps and much more traditional 2-2-2 lineups. It's possible to just surmise that triple tank is more of a valid option than before, but not necessarily the most effective way to play Overwatch currently, and there's just a lot of variety in hero pool and compositions right now, so I guess we're in a good spot, right? Well, yeah, that's kind of true at least, but there is a hero that can certainly reinforce triple tank's case.
Lucio is a staple in most teams nowadays. Very soon a revamped Lucio will make its way onto the live servers with his improved healing, but smaller radius. Hopefully you now start to see the direction we're going with this. After speaking to NRG's Ajax and DSB Stanky about the new Lucio, we started to see trends of players saying that Deathball would likely make a return. Even Stanky himself said to quote, "Also I think it's entirely possible that Quad Tank will show up again in some form with these changes. And an aid plus amped healing will recover 50% health of all tanks in a few seconds." It's also worth noting that our friend Numlock spoke about the new Lucio in an article and basically said that it's enabling deathball again, but it's worth going over quickly what we mean by deathballing for those that don't know. Deathballing is pretty much the opposite of a dive comp. Instead of being mobile, kind of spread apart and incredibly quick, a deathball is much slower, everybody's clumped up into a mess, where 5 to 6 players are huddled up closely and move as one unit. Reinhardt in front, everybody else behind sort of thing. So you can see how the new Lucio might emphasize and reinforce that. When I spoke to Dummy about Ana, which is a video you can see on screen now, I actually asked him about Lucio and what he thought of the potential of a deathball lineup is, and this is what he had to say on the subject.
I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence. I agree with Numlocked. I think we all look at it the same way on energy. I think it could end up being more deathball-y, which I'm not really a fan of. I think I'm a really big fan of how Blizzard is approaching like how they change a lot of the heroes or the new heroes they add. A lot of it just makes everything more fun to play. I think like Lucio in it, like on its own, is going to be really fun to play, which is something that I just didn't really find Lucio that fun before. But on the other hand, I do think they're going to have to be tweaking it as they go, because it could, on paper at least, it seems to buff, you know, a more deathball style, and I don't think that's where anyone wants to go right now.
So whilst triple tank at the moment is just another option to choose from when it comes to team compositions, the new Lucio can most certainly make it a much more viable strategy over something like dive. We're not necessarily saying that because of these changes something like dive will become non-existent, but it does certainly add strengths to teams that are bundled together. So how do we beat these difficult triple tank lineups now with a lot of sustain that just seem to be too beefy to deal with? Well, we have two heroes to look at currently, main one being Bastion actually. Bastion was also recently changed and reworked to be more of an answer to triple tanks and tank busting in general. Since those changes though, there was a quick tweak to Bastion's mitigation and the whole thing just kinda left a sour taste in the community's mouth. If triple tank does make a comeback, then rest assured that you have more of a solid counter in Bastion than you did before actually, especially when it comes down to melting Reinhardt's and Orisa's barriers. Another option here is Junkrat actually. A hero fallen from grace does have a huge potential in a barrier war. If he can claim the high ground for his team, he can easily eat away at any mitigation that the enemy has. In conclusion, it really looks like we're saying the end is nigh, triple tank is back, and I know some of the comments will point out that triple tank never really left, because that seems to always be the case when we make these is back videos. And you're definitely right when you say that it didn't disappear entirely. The problem comes from how strong triple tank would become with Orisa and the new Lucio combined. Its effectiveness has increased, so its viability as a strategy has as well. Whilst triple tank maybe never really left entirely, it certainly looks like it could be making its way back to the top.
And that's it for this time. Thank you very much for watching. Do let us know what you think. Do you think we're going to see triple tanks come back in a big way? How are you finding Orisa in competitive? Is she finding much use for you? And are you excited or scared for the new Lucio hitting the live servers? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Helps out the channel a lot. And until next time, take care. We'll see you then.